Hi, Randy Carter with Angler's Choice in Martinsville, Virginia here. I want to take a minute and talk to you about some common issues we see because it's the time of the year that guys are looking to service their lower units. Before cold weather comes in, you want to make sure there's no water inside of that case that can freeze, swell, and eventually bust your gear case. A couple of common issues we see are access points for the water to come in are the lower unit vent and drain screws, and also fishing line on the prop shaft of the engine, which cuts the rear seal and allows water to get in there. So of course, I'm on a new Mercury Pro XS 250 V8 4-stroke. There are many different applications and a lot of engines are going to look different than this one. So it's just a couple of differences in the way that you look at it or what you're looking for. One being, on this engine itself, our vent and our drain screw is behind the prop. When you're looking at an older engine, you're going to see the vent screw in this area and you're going to see your drain screw down here. It's the same principle, same access points for water to get into, but they're just located in different places on different engines. Now, when you pull your drain and vent screws, you're going to see a washer that looks like that. It's just a small washer or seal, whatever you want to call it. This goes around that vent or drain screw and seals that off so water can't intrude into the lower unit. When you're checking your lower unit or changing that lower unit grease, be sure you give that an inspection. Make sure that it's not cracked or broken or dry, and letting water come past that and get into your lower unit. It's a common issue that we see, and it's something easily checked, and these things are minimal cost and they'll save you a lot of headache in the long run. And keep in mind, when you're doing this, sometimes they'll stay in the lower unit case itself. They will not come out with a screw. So you may have to take a small pick and get that out of there to inspect it. But just make sure that it comes out, it's good, and it goes back in with that drain or vent screw when you do that. Secondly, it's going to be the prop shaft itself. We saw a number of times we'll pull a prop and there's fishing line wrapped around the prop shaft cutting into the seal, which keeps that water out. So I'm going to take a minute, pull this prop, and show you what I'm looking at. So what we're going to do in each lower unit, in this case, I'm going to use an 1 1/16 socket. I'm going to pull the prop nut off, and I'm going to take that prop off. Your engine may have a 15/16 nut holding it on, or a 3/4 if it's a smaller gear case. So that's my job by each individual engine. Okay, we've loosened our prop nut. I'm just going to take this off the shaft, and I'm going to set this down out of the way. Every prop is going to have a different set of hardware on the back of it. Some will have retainer clips that come out around the nut. You may have to flatten those before you take the nut out. Some are going to have castle nuts on them. Every one is different, Yamaha to Mercury to Evinrude, or Suzuki, whatever the case may be. But just pay attention to how that comes off. Be sure you go back on in the same order with it, and everything will be fine. So in this case, I have a couple of keepers on the back of the shaft and a cup washer there that goes on. Once I remove those, I'm going to pull this prop back and off the shaft. So once we've got the prop off, we're just going to take a minute and visually inspect it. Right around this area, this is your prop shaft seal. We see a lot of times fishing line gets wrapped around that, it'll cut into that seal, boom, water goes into your gear case. So that's a common point, along with the vent and drain screws we talked about. Now on this application, as I told you, here's our vent and our drain. If you look closely, you can see that yellow seal around the edge of that screw. That's what you want to inspect, whether it be exterior or interior behind your prop. All is going to be the same. You want to give that a good inspection around this seal to make sure, and if there's fishing line there, it'll jump out at you. There's no question that it's there. Just take a small pick, remove that, get it out of the way. What you'll also want to do is take a little lithium grease or standard marine grease and grease the splines of your prop shaft. Not heavily, but put a good coat on it so it's easy to get that prop on and off. Once you've inspected these, you can go ahead and change your lower unit grease, get that taken care of, replace your prop, put your hardware back on, tighten your nut down to whatever the torque spec is that engine calls for. After that, happy boating, and you won't have to worry about it again until next year.